Right, before we start, I just want to go through a quick safety check. First thing I'm going to do is check the tyres, make sure there's enough air in the tyres. Next thing I'm going to do is check the brakes. I'm going to check the front brake. And I'm going to check the back brake. Okay, they work fine. Next thing I'm going to do is just make sure that the chain is nice and oiled. Okay, that's great. Right, going to get on the bike. Helmet up. Now, best thing to do when you're mounting a bike is to step over so that you're standing straddling the bike like this. Try get into the habit of using your right leg, okay? And you start off, get on the seat, you start off in the power position, and off you go. Now I'm going to go through a few basic skills that you can develop to make your bike riding safer and more fun. When you ride a bike, most of the time you're sitting on the seat. But just try out and see for yourself how what difference it makes if you stand. You can move the bike around and the dynamics of the bike changes considerably. If you're just going to practice your skills and try and hone your skills in, all you really need is a sort of an area about this size. And you're not going to be going very fast, you're just going to be practicing steering and riding in a straight line. Using all the debris on the floor, you can just slow you down, controlling your speed, obviously looking where you're going. Just use that as a bit of an obstacle course. Basically ride around and just sort of feel the bike, get used to the bike. Good thing to do is actually see what happens to the dynamics of the bike when you stand in the seat. Just feel how much more control you get and how you can throw the bike around using your weight to help you. That's a really good thing. So if you're in an emergency situation or you're going through a pretty difficult piece of terrain, it's always best to stand in pedals. I've got a bit of a line here, and all we're going to do is just going to go to the start of that. We're just going to practice riding in a straight line as well. Now another good thing to do, I've got two bottle tops down there. One little trick is actually to use your eyes to steer. Now, if I focus on one of those bottle tops, I'm looking at that bottle top, looking at it, then I'll ride straight over it. If I keep my eyes in between those two bottle tops, let's see if we can get through. You'll see there's some of the things that you can just do to hone your skills, just practice handling the bike, feeling at one with the bike. Another good thing to do is to learn how to balance. Bicycle riding is all about balance. So if you pick two spots, see how slowly it takes you to get from one point to the next. So I've got this icy pole stick, crawl along, shifting my body weight to keep my balance, just practicing 20 minutes, that's all you need. Don't want to overdo it. If you can't perfect something in 20 minutes, then don't worry about it too much. Just go back to it at a later stage. Again, trying to do tight corners, looking where you're going, keeping your balance, controlling your speed. Push yourself and try and get around those tightest corners possible. Just makes you a lot more safer on the bike because you know how it handles. And if you know how it handles and you can control the way it handles, and that's pretty much it. So a nice little quiet spot, some bitumen, and yeah, just practice. Okay, if I'm coming up to an emergency stop, I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear and very, very loud. I would put my hand up or put my hand right to the back so that my fellow riders can see exactly what I'm doing, and I'll shout stopping. At the same time, I'm not looking around me, I'm looking ahead, I'm making sure I'm scanning up the situation ahead. Your front brake and your back brake have different degrees of effectiveness. Your front brake is more effective than your back brake. If you're doing an emergency stop, the best thing to do is stand in the pedals as I'm doing here. I've got absorption in my legs and my arms. I've pulled my front brake and my back brake simultaneously, and the first thing I've done is thrown my weight back. That will stop me from going over the handlebars. If the situation is that I'm riding on a very slippery surface, or it's just been raining, or there's sand on the road, then if I put my front brake first, I have the tendency to skid, depending on the surface and depending on my grip on the tyres. If that's the situation, I would then pull my back brake and then skid with my back wheel. I'm more likely to stay upright if I skid with my back wheel than if I skid with my front wheel. At the same time, I'm using my arms and my legs to absorb the shock of the impact as well. Again, remember to throw your weight back as far as you can go. If I pull the back brake, you can see how the back wheel starts to skid. And if I put the front brake on, you can see how the bike ends up like that. That just demonstrates that the front brake is a lot more effective than the back brake, but I need to counteract that movement there by throwing my weight backwards. Now I'm going to show you how the bike handles and what the stopping power is when I'm applying the back brake first, then the front brake, and then both together. Now I'm making sure that I'm not going too fast when I first start doing this, okay? So there's not very much of a stopping power there. Okay, so as you can see, I didn't stop very effectively. Now I'm going to show you how the front brake works by itself. So just the front brake. Now as you can see there, I threw my weight back over the back seat to counteract that weight going forward. So there's the front brake. A bit more stopping power. Now I'm going to show you how to do the emergency brake using both brakes at the same time. Now I'm going to increase my speed a little bit here. Okay, you can see that I was going a lot faster. I did skid, but at the same time I stopped a lot more effectively and I threw my weight back. I had a good grip on the handlebars as well. Weight back. See, that was a lot more effective, a lot safer. Weight back, brakes on. Again, start off slowly, and the more confident you get, build it up and build it up and build it up. If you notice, on the front end of the bike, there are 3 chain rings. And if you notice on the back, there are 7 cogs. That actually gives you 21 gears, but the chances of you using all of them is very, very unlikely. Your normal riding position or your normal riding gear, you will have the chain on the front or the middle chain ring and the chain on either the middle 2 or 3 cogs on the back. If I wanted to change down gears, I've got my lever here. This will change the back. On this particular bike, it's very easy because they're all numbered. If I move that to 1, the derailleur actually derails the chain and puts the chain on the bigger cog at the back. That's gear 1. And if you see what happens if I push them down, so I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
There's more to pedalling than meets the eye. For efficient pedalling, you should maintain a cadence between 80 and 100 RPM. Cadence is the number of rotations the pedals make in a minute. Inexperienced cyclists tend to pedal too slowly in too high a gear. Here Steve is in a high gear and will soon tire and may end up with sore knees. A symptom of being in too high a gear is having to rise out of the saddle on the flat or a gentle uphill. In this clip, Steve is in a low gear and the pedals are moving fast, but he isn't making much progress. Because he is pedalling fast, he's wobbling from side to side and may be bouncing up and down in the saddle. Steve is now spinning the pedals at a cadence of about 90, the most efficient rate if you are riding for any reasonable length of time. To maintain a good cadence, it's important to select the right gear.
One thing you're going to have to do when you're riding on your bike ride is reach for your water bottle. Some of you may not feel confident in doing that, but you can always practice and get more confident by taking your hands off the handlebars as you're actually going along. Alright, so as I'm demonstrating here, I'm taking them off, putting them back on again, and getting used to riding with one hand. Once you've mastered that and you want to reach for your bottle, reach down, feel for it, pick it up, and away you go. Make sure that you keep scanning the road ahead. What you don't want to do is do this, where you've got your head down and you're not paying attention to what's coming up in front of you. The same thing applies when you're putting it back. So you're still scanning ahead, you're making sure that you're keeping focused on the road, and all you do is a quick glance in there and away you go.
Something else that's really important is rider position on the bike and comfort. Let's look at hand on the handlebar positions. Especially on longer rides, handlebar position is very important. You've basically got 3 positions you can go to: in the drops, on the hoods, and on top of the bars. But But perhaps the most important thing is that you always get your thumbs hooked around the handlebar so that you've got a good grip of the bicycle. So in the drops, thumbs around, on the hoods, thumbs hooked in, and particularly on top of the bars, thumbs under, rather than on the top. Not like this, like this. It only takes a pothole or a bump in the road and you can be slipping if your thumbs aren't underneath the bars.
And doing a corner demonstration, we want to be braking as we come towards the corner rather than while we're in it. Clutching and putting the inside foot up, looking through the corner, and then putting power down as we leave the corner on the way out.